Welcome to the Win, Make, Give podcast. Chad Himes here, joined by my friend Bob Stewart. Yes, he's back. Bob Stewart, how are you today? It snowed and you panicked and you didn't show up for like snow in the holidays, so Ben and I just went ahead without you. Oh, Bob, you'll just have to wait. Actually, we talked about a great message he had recently shared. Of course you do. Well, not too much. I want to say it was a fun one, yet it was a serious one. Ben had a message he had posted recently, not too long ago on social media. We really dove into that message, took it apart, about a life of growth versus a life that sucks. And yeah, we probably took a few shots at you while we were recording there, Bob, but we're glad to have you back. Here we are. And Bob and I just wanted to talk about something that we thought was pretty important to help you guys get started with 2022. And Bob, what are we going to talk about today?
Needs,
Chad.
Yeah. Like things that we need.
Like
right?
I need a new hat. I need new sneakers, right? I need that stuff.
I'm pretty sure those are going to be on the list. Yes. We want to go through the 6 human needs. We're going to talk about what, the things that we get up every day when we go into work. I mean, really to satisfy these needs, right? We move through life. Maslow, is that his name, would say?
Yep, that's right. Abraham Maslow.
Trying to satisfy these needs, right?
Yeah.
And they're not, unfortunately, shoes and hats probably aren't going to be on the list, but they should be. I bet, Chad, I can find something to slot them into, right? One of these needs is being satisfied by my shoes and my hats. I don't know which one, but we'll figure it out.
I'm sure that they'll fit in many places. You'll make them fit. So, Bob, you came to me a while back and you said, "Hey, Chad, let's talk about this," because you had seen some people post about it on social media. You had heard the term thrown around. So we did a little research so that we could come educated to this episode today. Abraham Maslow, you mentioned, was the person who was credited with coming up with the human needs. He was born in 1908, died in 1970. So he died before either of us even showed up. He was an American psychologist who stressed the importance of focus on positive qualities in people instead of treating them like a bunch of symptoms, right? He wanted us to find the positives. Before him, most psychologists always focused on the abnormal and the ill. And I would say probably most psychologists still focus on the abnormal and the ill. Think about your therapy sessions, finding out what's wrong, not necessarily finding out what's right and how we develop all that kind of stuff. The doctor's always looking to prescribe what's wrong instead of what's right. Abraham Maslow came out with these needs. And Bob, just for an interesting fact, he's the 10th most cited psychologist of the 20th century. So people refer to him regularly, and that's because of these needs. Bob, he built them on the pyramid, right? We've all seen the pyramid. We all know the food chart, right? Which used to be the food pyramid.
Hold on. Before the 10th most cited?
10th most cited.
Can we get like top 5? We should go back. Like, we know Sigmund Freud's got to be up there, right?
I don't know. We would have to do research. Who are the 10 most cited, right? We could figure it out. Now, he's an American psychologist, so maybe he gets classified. I don't know, Bob. I just had that he was the 10th most cited. I thought it was interesting. So he built this hierarchy of needs, Bob, and it's on a pyramid, so I know you can picture it. And what he has said is that you actually have to achieve the bottom of the pyramid before you can move to the next step. And then the next step, and then the next step, and then the next step. So, Bob, I know as we've done our research, what's at the bottom of this pyramid so everybody can imagine it. And I'll post an image of it in our Facebook group, which I already plugged for everybody. Yet, Bob, what's the bottom base level?
I was never very good at English. So this word, physiological, right?
There you go.
Pronunciation. So the physiological needs, like breathing.
Yes.
Food.
Right.
Water. Sleep.
Yep.
Excretion. But
Sure.
sex.
Yes.
Sex being on that baseline bottom of the pyramid need. What's homeostasis?
Homeostasis is being able to continue how you are. Like it's like where we are normally.
Okay.
Homeostasis. We're not in stress. We're not, we're where we should be. It's when you're working out and your heart's pounding like crazy, you want to come back down to a stasis, which
homeostasis.
is
Got it.
normal.
Got
Okay.
it. Okay.
So this is the bottom of the pyramid, folks. These are the needs that need to be satisfied first, according to Maslow. We're going to quickly go through his pyramid. Bob, take us to the next level. Once we know those are all satisfied, I'm eating, I'm drinking, I'm being able to get my sleep, things like that. My body is basically dealing with what it needs to do. What's next?
Safety, which would include security of your body, right? Like I'm not being threatened by anything.
Yep.
Security of my employment, of
Mm.
resources. So I have access to the food and the water and those things, right? There's some security in that.
Yep.
Morality, security of the family, security of my health, and security of my property. So basically, like everything that I have, right? All the things I would assume that are going to kind of fund my physiological needs, right? That those things are secured, and that I have safety of those things.
Okay, so take us up the chart, Bob. Next level, level
Lo-
3 of the 5 levels.
Love and belonging, which is includes kind of the friendships, my family relationships, and then sexual intimacy with a partner.
Yeah, Bob,
Um,
you really like going back to that sex thing.
I
You've
mean,
made it
he
work twice.
keeps this Maslow guy, like he keeps bringing it up. So,
You
right,
did mention Freud earlier.
I did, but only because he's the only other like psychologist I know, right? So, like, I'm assuming. Okay, next up, so above love and belonging would be esteem. So
Okay.
self-esteem, confidence, achievement, respect of others, and respect by others.
Yep.
And then at the top is self-actualization, which is morality, creativity, spontaneity, problem solving, a lack of prejudice, and an acceptance of facts.
Mm. Okay. And as Bob took us through that, realize, folks, it's in order, right? You've got to have those things at the bottom. You've got to be able to breathe, eat, sleep, and have all that before you can worry about, do I have employment? Do I have the resources? Do I have those things? And then I'll get family and friends and other things, and then it leads and it leads. So Maslow built the hierarchy of needs, and that's how he always talked about it. Now, there's a guy out there everybody knows, and that's Tony Robbins. And we don't have to get onto, are you a big Tony Robbins fan? You're not a big Tony Robbins fan. Doesn't matter. Yet he's adapted the theory, and it's kind of become how more people seem to talk about it nowadays, Bob, when he built his version of the 6 basic human needs.
Okay.
So he's broken them down to 6 different needs for us. The first 4 are the needs of the personality, and the last 2 is what he calls the needs of the spirit. So let's look at the needs of the personality first. And I think it's interesting the way that Tony has this, because Bob, he gives us almost a paradox between need 1 and need 2. Talk about that a little bit.
So the needs are certainty and variety. And obviously the paradox is we've got this need for a certain level of certainty
Yep.
in our life, but at the same time, there's an aspect of variety, and people need to have some variety. So I mean that's the paradox. Those are the 2 needs. Let's dig in first to certainty.
Okay.
So like what would be, what would be indicative of that certainty that we need in our life, Chad?
Well, if we look at certainty, meaning that desire to feel safe, to feel comfortable, to be able to have pleasure, not have to experience pain, Bob, the things I see immediately are like having a roof over my head, especially because outside my window, there's a lot of snow while we're recording this. And I don't want to be out there in it, right? So having a roof over my head, having enough food to be able to eat, maybe having that security in a relationship, that security in my job, very similar to how Maslow gave us the second level there of having that safety is how he referred to it.
I think of like we talk about this all the time, raising young children. I think about like their need to feel like there's routines in their life. There's some certainty that they're going to wake up tomorrow and there's going to be food here for them, and that really allows them. This level to me is like that, which Maslow, I like the way he did it as that foundation. It's that, like, that's the foundation, right? Just the certainty that I don't have to worry tomorrow about where I'm going to eat when I get up. And, we have a lot of people in this country, Chad, that like don't have that certainty. So all these other
Yeah.
things, all these other needs it's hard to even meet those other needs until we've got, just some foundation from which to work.
Yeah. Now, Bob, there's also negative ways we have to watch for when it comes to that certainty, right? Like hoarding. Like if you go into my garage right now, you're going to find like 5 Costco sized things of toilet paper, right? We're kind of hoarding some toilet paper because of what happened in the country not too long ago, that now it's like, no, it's us,
You're the
right?
reason that I've only got 2 rolls here.
That's right. We go to the store every time and we're like, do we need it? No, but it's here. So let's get it just in case, right? Micromanaging. So it's done my way, right? Or being codependent and stuff. That's a certainty. Those are negative traits that kind of come with this certainty, Bob. We want to focus only, of course, on the positive.
I think like this, because you brought up the hoarding and we've got all that. My wife was raised by a single mom, and like they live paycheck to paycheck for the most part when my wife was growing up, and she always tells the story of coming home from school and there never being anything easy. It's not like they didn't have food, but like when you're a kid, you want to get some snacks or something, and she'd have to like make oatmeal, and then I had a similar experience, right? Like I have to make some macaroni and cheese. Like, oh, there's everything you just grab, which I think when you're raised poor, you kind of, they don't have those grab and go foods, right? There wasn't a bunch of fruit roll-ups in the fridge or in the cupboards. But today now, like that impact of my wife not having that certainty or feeling like, oh, I gotta make that thing when I get home. There's so much food in our cupboards. And look, we're blessed to be able to be in a position for that. But she's like, I never want my kids to feel like they go open the cupboards and not know what they're gonna have to eat there,
Yep.
So I think you see these things play out in your life, right? Different areas where you may have been short on one of these needs, you overcompensate for it later. Micromanaging, that's the next one you have that kind of comes up in a negative way, right? The certainty, if I can just make sure everything is going to be exactly where it should be.
And it never is.
Right?
It never is.
My wife is running. She is shooting for it, man. She's going to get there.
So
if anybody can do it, it's my wife.
She can pull it off. All right, we got some questions for our audience to ask themselves. So we want to start 2022 on the right note. And whenever you're listening to this, heck, it might be April, you're finally listening to this, and it doesn't have to be January when you start something new. So here are some questions that we put together for you to ask yourself. How do you achieve certainty? So what is it that you need to do to achieve certainty? Are you focused on past or hope for the future?
Right? Where should I be? I mean, I'm assuming I should be kind of focused on the future, right? Like if I'm trying to reorganize things that were uncertain in the past, that's going to be a challenge.
Correct, right? Are you using repetitive negative or repetitive positive language patterns? Listen to yourself for a while. Are you talking about need, that I don't have? Or are you talking about things that you have and things that are there? And how can you better fulfill your need for certainty as you move forward? Okay, so take a moment, ask yourself these questions to figure it out. Now, Bob, we were saying the first 2 of the 6 basic human needs as Tony Robbins had them. First was certainty. The other was the paradox of certainty, which was variety. So talk to us a little bit about how that's a human need and how variety comes into our world as a need, as opposed to certainty, which is its opposite.
Well, I think what's the cliche? Variety is the spice of life or something. Is that what it is? Yeah. This isn't going to be the same for everyone, right? But it's this idea that they're like here's how I think about it. Inside of the certainty of life, right? That my needs are, that my basic human needs are met, the food, shelter, water, right? Those kind of things. If every day looked the same though, right? Which is, by the way, would be a really good way to kind of fulfill that first need of consistency, right? Or of certainty. I'm going to get bored by that, right? And I'm going to, like, I need something else to kind of bring life to life, right?
Sure.
So to me, the variety is those things that bring the spice to life, as it were, which is now probably, as I sit here and think about it, why they made that saying, right? Like the basic meat and potatoes is that certainty, right? And we need that, but the variety, the things that make life exciting, fun, worth living, I guess, as it were, would be the variety. So now some people the crazy, I joke with my wife. Our youngest is kind of a risk taker,
Okay.
and he likes to stand on my shoulders. He's 4, right? And he's always wants to take risks, and she doesn't want to. She's like, "Hey, get back here, get back up on the, get off that." And I said to her the other day, I said, "You better be careful with him, because like when he turns 18, he's going to be the one out there jumping out of planes and diving off the sides of buildings, right? Because you've like strained this risk taking aspect of him. But so he might be the one out there, like his variety, he needs to be swimming with sharks or doing crazy, right? Most people can find variety in things like, seeing a new movie. Chad, I know you and your wife like watch a new movie
Sure.
every week, right? Or attending a concert, or going to a sporting event, or some of these things. But um, I
Yeah,
think there's a lot of ways that we experience variety.
right. You're saying for some people it's really simple. Like let's go to a new restaurant, right? Let's
Yeah.
order something different at Starbucks next time I go in. For Ben, it would be, let's wear something that's not black in color,
Well, he would never
right?
do that. So let's think of a different one for him.
Right. I guess that's a certainty. You can count on Ben is going to be wearing black as his color, right? Uh, but we all need some of that little variety that comes to our life. It's our hobbies. It's little things like that. There are negative ways that variety comes in, Bob, like creating drama.
Mm.
Right? I want variety, so I'm going to stir up some shit here just to see what happens and how it impacts everybody and stuff. Or maybe it's experimenting with illegal substances, right? We're going out
That's
there and doing
interesting. I wonder if you were to like do a study or something on, we've all got somebody in our life, or have had, maybe we've had to distance ourselves, but who's that dramatic, right? Every time it's always something, it's always another thing. I wonder if you were to look at and study those people, if you would find that they do not get a lot of those other experiences, or all of that other variety of life, Chad. They don't get, vacations to be able to get that thing out, and they don't have hobbies to be able to, um,
express that.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's interesting.
it's interesting.
I never
So
thought
here's
of
some.
like drama being like an outlet for variety in life, but yeah, totally.
Well, yeah, just think about, there's that routine at work and that the office and things flow well. And then there's drama will get created,
Mm.
right? It's, oh, I can't come in today, or, oh, I'm coming in, but I'm going to blame this, or I'm going to cause that problem, or I'm going to just stir up some crap and say, hey, Bob, I hear things going interesting with you and your wife, huh? Right? Making a big issue about it to now make it uncomfortable and stir that up for variety for some people. So, audience, here are some of those questions that we have for you. One, how do you meet your need for variety? What are those things you do? And do you have problems, hesitations, or fears that are giving you emotional uncertainty and prevent you from attempting new things? Think about what's stopping you from being able to cash in on that variety and that spice of life uh, to figure those things out. All right. So now, Bob, the next two of the 4 needs of personality are also a paradox to each other. We've got need 3, which is significance,
Okay.
and then need 4, which is kind of that connection, love. So let's dive into these, Bob. Talk to me about significance. What do we mean, and how is that one of the 6 human needs in our world?
Well, look, and again, Tony Robbins would say, I guess, or based on Maslow, that we need to feel important, right? Like we need to feel needed and wanted by others,
Okay.
um, or we need to feel important.
Yep.
The lack of feeling significant is a form of low self-esteem because it stems from comparing ourselves to others. So it's one element in life that makes us raise our standards, right? Is this concept of significance, or needing to feel important. So on the flip side, if we become hyper focused on significance, we develop difficulty connecting with others because comparison breeds differences, not commonalities.
So there's
Um,
that paradox you're talking about of significant. And if we lean too much into it and become hyper focused, I think you just said, then we have some difficulty connecting with others, which was the other side of that human need, that love, that connection.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So like I think about I mean there's a I've
I
this
can
like
see Bob going through a therapy session in his head right
yeah,
now.
totally. I have this seminal moment from my like elementary, I mean, third grade. I had this teacher that like humiliated me in front of class. And to this, like, it fueled me to like, it fueled this, it fueled this in me. Um, he had said
Now
that,
wait, hang on. Did it fuel this, meaning it fueled a need to feel important, or did it take that away from you, which gave you kind of that feel
yeah,
that
he
lack
he
of?
took that away from me. And so then I needed to fill that void with, um, I remember this like it was yesterday. Mr. Bush was this asshole's name. Um,
And if you're listening,
I
Mr.
I had a
Bush,
lot of really good teachers. This was like he was not. But he ridiculed me in front of class because he had said that Mount Rainier was the tallest mountain in the United States, and I had raised my hand and said, in the continental United States, there's a taller mountain in Alaska, and he argued with me about whether that was true or not. Then he kicked me out of class. And so like I was humiliated in front of, I'm a third grader, right? Like, but I was pretty sure I was right. And I was.
there you go.
Um, anyway, so like he made me feel insignificant, right? And so I was like, no, no. Like, I mean, I think I spent a lot of the rest of my life trying to like prove that not to be true, right? In my own head, probably.
Right. So this is part of that. If you're struggling with insignificance, it could be because something your parents did, not that we need to blame them for everything. Something
Nah,
your
blame
sibling
them.
did,
They did that shit.
right? Maybe a mean teacher like Bob had here, maybe a bully, right? It doesn't always matter why you have low self-esteem. What matters is how do you combat it? Because we have to have feelings of significance with us, and that's one of those things. So, Bob, let's talk about some ways you could, and I don't mean you, I mean our audience and anybody in general, could experience significance. Give me some ideas of some ways that we could do it.
I like this one, success. Like being really good at something, I think
Yeah.
is a way to to experience that. I love the like going and serving in the military,
Yep.
right? Really serving in any capacity doesn't have to be in the military.
Firefighter, police officer,
Yeah,
something like that. Yep.
a meaningful career where you feel like you're helping people and you're um and what you're there's some significance to that, right? A lot of people, Chad, will find this through like spirituality, right?
Mm.
That idea
Yep.
that like life has meaning, and so there's some significance to my time here on Earth.
Yep.
I mean, so some people, you know, I some people will do it through providing. Like I think of Ben and him, having been raised really poor and it was just kind of a struggle and he's not providing for his family. He's like created this big, huge family and really is like is providing for so many people, right? And
Yep.
is has built this business and this thing that provides allows other people to find significance. So um I think
That's a
there's a lot of
great.
positive ways that people experience
Yeah.
significance.
And then, Bob, there's some negative ways people do it too because they make sure they're the sickest, right? So that hey, I'm important because I'm the one who's always sick, right?
Yeah.
Or they're such a failure, right? Some people will actually feel significant by being the worst at something because it brings them the attention that significance has to it. And then again, Bob, tearing others down, right? There's that gossiping again. How many times do people attempt to make themselves feel significant because they're the source of all the gossip?
It's interesting, the more that we get into these and you're like looking at the negative versus the positive kind of experience of these needs, it
Yep.
it almost like I think back to my original point of like I wonder if you studied them, if you'd see that these people who did those negative things didn't have as much of these positives. I mean, it almost is like, yeah,
Or
clearly now, right? It's becoming more and more obvious that if you are kind of experiencing that need, which essentially what we're saying here is you have to experience that one way or the other, right? You're either going
Correct.
to get the positive experience of it, or you're going to manufacture the negative experience of it.
Yeah, there's going to be the
Um,
straight A student in school, and there's going to be the bully, and they're both going to have their reasons behind them as to why it went negative and why one's going positive. And it's probably because of what they're getting or not getting from somewhere else, because they need to fill that need, because it is a basic human need,
which is
positive
why
or
we're
negative.
having people ask these questions like, are you purposely filling that need with
Right.
positive experiences around it? Or are you, because if you're not, you will fill that need somehow, right? You
So,
might not
Bob,
even realize it.
give our audience some questions that they can sit down and journal about. So, folks, if you're a journaler, I'd listen to this episode again. I'd grab these questions we keep asking you, great topics for you to journal about, or just take 5 minutes and answer them. Bob, give our audience some questions they can ask themselves in the
I mean,
area of the need of significance.
the most basic one is like, what do you do to feel significant today? Like what things in your daily routine or as a part of your job or inside of your family unit, like what do you do to feel significant today?
Okay.
I think this is a great one. How do you make others feel significant? Because I
Hmm.
think if you were able to articulate ways that you are trying to find and to make other people feel significant, there's probably some of like inside of that is something that you feel significant, right? That would make you feel significant, right? One of those like, we treat other people in a similar way to how we'd want to be treated or something like that. And then the last question would be, do you experience significance on a regular basis? Or is this something where you maybe need to, because if you're not, right, Chad, there's a high likelihood that you are potentially dabbling into some of these negative experiences
Absolutely.
of significance, right? If you're not getting it on a consistent basis positively.
That's a great point, Bob. All right. So now the opposite of significance, as you mentioned in your description at the beginning of it, is that if we got, I think you again said hyper focused. I love that term. You said that if we got hyper focused on becoming significant, sometimes we can develop issues with connecting to others, which is the fourth of the basic human needs, and that's connection and love. Now, I
Okay.
think everybody in our audience can understand what connection and love mean. So, Bob, let's talk about some positive ways that we can experience some of that love and connection with people, and then we'll hit on some of the negative
I feel
ways
like you're
people.
setting me up again because you know what these like you kind of built these slide decks so that we're like we're not just ad libbing this necessarily, right? But like marital intimacies on there, and you kept
Oh, you
like
again. There you go.
yeah, see, right? You've positioned this thing that like the whole way through you're
Now,
flipping it to me
hang
when
on
that
a
comes up.
second. You're right, Bob. Yet at the same time, we come up with more than one example, and you just seem to always want to be picking the one that fits that. You see, you could have skipped
um,
that one. There were
loving
others.
on your children and pets, connection with your community, right? Volunteering,
Yep.
performing good deeds, um, being kind to somebody, right? I think about like this, those silly kind of, um, things as silly as like somebody pays for the person behind them in lines drink, and all of a sudden, you hear the
Yep.
stories of 100 cars later, it's still
Paying it forward.
happening.
Yep.
Yeah. There's obviously that love and connection from like your immediate close family or that quality friends time, right? Like I think these are uh, if you're needing help from us in trying to figure out who or how to be connecting with people, like
Right.
I think you're in bad shape.
Correct. And you would probably, folks, want to check out the 5 love languages, right? If you want to know more about how to connect with people, if I want to know how to with Bob, I can learn that gifts is one of his love languages. That's why I'll come into the podcast studio and there'll be a new hat on my thing. That's why he talks about, oh, he loves to get this stuff. Okay, so now you know how to fill Bob's love language. Whereas Ben, it's don't get him a gift, right? It's just do something for him, do that act of service or something, and now he looks up and really appreciates it, et cetera, et cetera. All right, let's look at some of the negative sides, Bob, because love and connection, as all of these needs have that coin we've flipped, it could come all the way down to an addiction,
Yeah,
right? I mean, an
probably one of the
addiction is going
most
to be that I
like
I have a connection to something
yeah.
because I have that addiction to whatever it is.
I think that's probably one of the more you know developed negative connections.
Yeah. Yeah. Dominating and controlling other people, right? Therefore, they're forced to show you appreciation because you've been there and took care of them. Do you
Being
almost
helpless, so people have to take care of you. That's a way to manufacture connection. That's not necessarily a positive thing,
It's almost
right?
like you're guilting them into loving you in that situation, right? So
Yeah.
always talking, the hypochondriacs that are out there, always talking about what's wrong with them, being depressed and always staying depressed so that you
I
get attention and
That's
compassion.
interesting that because you had written here, you said something different than you had written out, and you said being depressed, but staying depressed.
Yep.
Look, so we people get depressed. I battle with
Oh
depression
yeah.
sometimes, and I've had these little bouts of it, and but staying depressed is a decision you can, right.
Yeah.
You can't really look if you get depression, you're not deciding whether or not you get depressed, but staying depressed does become a decision in some
Yes.
cases. So I like the way that you wrote it here as you were developing this. Staying depressed is a negative way to attract connection.
So let's give you guys some questions out there, audience, to help you with love and connection. Bob, why don't you take them through a list of questions they could ask themselves?
What do you do to feel love and connection? Right. Again, just this purposeful, like, are you purposely going out and seeking out a way to fulfill this particular need? Um, what do you do to receive love and connection from others, right? How do you give love and connection to others? That might be again, as we go back to um, the love languages, right? Like generally the way
Yep.
that you give is the way that you prefer to receive. How can you improve your fulfillment of love and connection in healthy ways moving forward? And I think maybe the flip side of that is, do you see any of these negative expressions of connection in, kind of your daily activities, right?
Yeah, really well put. And those are some great questions. Now, folks, we've covered the 4 needs of the personality according to Tony Robbins. That was certainty and variety, and then significance and connection love, the 2 sets there. Then he goes on and he says, okay, now we've got the 2 needs of the spirit. And Bob, the first one is growth,
Okay.
right? The first one is growth. And here's the thing, everything is either growing or dying. Right? I mean, that you're either growing or dying, right? Physical activity is necessary for a healthy body, right? If we sit, we gain weight, we lose muscle, disease sets in. Emotionally, we change and we grow with every experience that happens, from events in our personal life to events that happen around us, especially what's going on in the world, right? Intellectually, we respond to stimulus that happens around us. It's a lifelong endeavor that we read, we're doing things hands on, we're witnessing other people succeeding and failing. And when we stop being physically active, our bodies degenerate. When we stop growing intellectually, our memory starts to fade, right? We start to lose some of our abilities. When we stop growing emotionally, we regress in our thoughts and feelings and love. And as soon as we stop growing, we're dying.
I mean, like
We're
our literally our brain will shrink. Remember, we had the way back in season 1, we did the
the
thing about
cab
the tax.
drivers.
Yeah, the cab drivers, who their brains would
Yep.
actually get bigger when they would have to learn every street in London. Obviously, the opposite of that would happen,
Correct.
right? Like your brain will literally shrink.
Yes. So, whatever it is you value, whether it's marriage, health, relationships, career, integrity, money, law, whatever it is you are, we have to always be working at it. That's what we're talking about when we talk about growth. Bob, give me some positive ways. Folks, sex isn't on the list. Bob, give me some positive ways that we can focus on experiencing growth.
What exercise? That could be.
Okay. All right.
That
I'll let
could
you have
be
it then, Bob.
exercise. Reading, listening to podcasts, right? Learning
We got a
something
great one
new.
called Win, Make, Give. We
Ooh,
recommend you keep
check it
listening to
out.
and
Check it
sharing. Yeah.
out. Learning a musical instrument, picking up a new hobby, learning to golf, right? Any of those sorts of things. Negative ways, you know, TV, right? Like
Yep.
I battle with, like, we have young kids, and they have iPads, right? For good, bad, or indifferent. Like they know how to run those things just as good as me and my wife, if not better. But like giving into that too much of that, right? Like
Yep.
it's okay for them to, but watching too much TV, getting into bad habits and fueling bad habits, whatever that be, right? Gambling or whatever.
Yep.
Um, Yeah, I mean, there's some of the ways that you would kind of like again, you like you're gonna fulfill that need is gonna
Yeah.
get fulfilled. It's a need,
Yep.
right? It's not a want, it's a need. So he's saying like you're going to fill it somehow, whether
Correct.
it be positive or whether it be through, just Netflix binging.
Okay. So
Not that there's
here,
anything wrong with an occasional Netflix binge, by the way.
correct, right? It's okay when it's occasional. It's okay if it's your thing, it's your guilty pleasure or whatever. That's fine. It's a difference between, never coming up for air from it and Netflix continuing to say, "Are you still there?" and you saying, "Yes, yes, I'm still here." I think it still asks you that, right? I don't know. I haven't been there that long. So here's some questions you can ask yourself, audience. It's, how do you experience growth? I know that I read for a certain amount of time every day. That's one of the ways I always experience growth, right? Are you listening to podcasts? What are you doing? And when you want to
By the
grow,
way, if anybody
oh,
heard you say that, they're listening
hmm,
to podcasts. So good job. High five
there you
to
go.
them,
Right. High five
right?
to you
They
because
are
you're
they
listening
are
to a
doing
podcast.
this one already.
That's right. When you want to grow, what do you do with your focus? Right. So where are you putting that growth? Is it into something that's positive? Is it something that's bringing value? Or is it to something destructive and something negative?
All
Okay.
right,
And then, Bob,
wrap
growth
it
is
up.
on one side. What's
Yeah,
the other?
contribution,
Mm,
right? It's the act of looking beyond myself, Chad, and going beyond my own needs, right, and giving to
yep.
others with no hope for an expected or personal gain.
Okay.
Um, it's contributing to someone else, their cause, their movement, right? A way to leave a legacy or a mark on the world, and to make a difference on other people.
Okay. So, Bob, give us some examples of some positive ways that we can
I love this one. I like
contribute.
the idea of like spending time with grandchildren or nieces or nephews or other family members, kind of outside of your little core family unit, right?
Yep.
And look, I think there's probably if you have kids, right? There's like contributing to them is kind of should be par for the course, right? But more time to them potentially, right?
Okay.
Their community service, right? A service-based career could do this. I would
Yeah.
assume that some people, and a lot of this is probably, we were to Sigmund Freud, he would say that like our childhood dictates how much of these needs, because some people might have like a much higher uh, propensity to need contribution. They want to contribute to a lot, right? Whereas some other people might say, I don't need as much of that to kind of fill that tank, right? So somebody that needed to really come from a place of contribution, they might consider like a service-based career, like a teacher or a firefighter or a police officer or a doctor or something like
Yep.
that, right? But
Yep.
otherwise, Chad, I know you recently are finishing a book, right? And I
Yeah.
think in a lot of ways, I don't think you expect to make millions of dollars from that book or become John Grisham and have your book turned into a movie, right? Like for you, it's probably just as much about like contributing to people, right? And to you've had a lot of mentors and people pour into you over the years, and this is a way for you to be able to give back, right? and
Yeah.
and contribute. So writing a book
Yeah.
would be a great one. Community service, right? Those kinds of things.
Okay. And what about that negative sign, Bob?
I don't know.
We've
I don't
got
know.
it
I
here
you,
again.
you'll have to do these ones because I don't even know. Like
There
it's
you
all
go.
positive over here, my friend.
There you go. I love it. So one of those negative ones, Bob, we've seen this show up in so many of the needs, gossiping again,
Mm,
right? It's, I'm contributing because I'm going to fuel that fire. I'm going
uh,
to, cause that issue, right? I'm going to gang up with others on somebody, right?
okay,
Becoming a bully.
I was wrong, Chad. I said I don't. I sometimes I can be condescending. Like
Yes,
it must
and
be when
being
I'm not getting enough of that positive contribution. I don't feel like I'm contributing in the best ways. I can definitely be condescending
yes,
occasionally.
that's
So
another one that's on there. I think we all have our moments where we can be condescending. All right, so let's give you some questions, everybody, that you can ask yourself again. And again, I highly recommend going through the episode, grabbing all these questions, journaling for yourself, taking a few days even in each need or whatever it is. Questions you can ask yourself. How do you contribute, and why is it important to you to contribute in the ways you do? Okay. What drives your desire to contribute the way you do? And have you contributed in negative ways? And what have you learned from that? So, Bob, as we go through these 6 human needs, right? The first 4 were variety, certainty, significance, and love and connection. And then the last 2, growth and contribution. I got to ask you, do shoes and hats still fit into one of the 6 needs somewhere?
Mm, mm. Okay. Well, every once in a while, I got a couple of like kind of younger men in my world, right? Who I will donate shoes to. I give them to them, right? There's like family members and stuff. And when they come over, I'll say, hey, so maybe it does, like in some ways that fills that contribution bucket for me.
Okay.
Variety, definitely the variety bucket. Cause if I had the
There
same
you
stick
go.
of pair of shoes every day, Chad, like how fun would that be? Right? I wouldn't be able to post on my Instagram with my shoes for today. So varieties, that's where they're going to live. They're living right there in variety. I need my variety. I need my hats. I need my shoes.
I was going to just put them right under love for you. I mean, that's for you. I think you might sleep with a pair of them some nights. I'm not sure. I don't want to know the details. Neither does anybody.
I've always
in the
got them right
Windmake
here under my desk. Here's a pair. I might have it here. I got one more. These are because these ones don't fit in my closet anymore. So now they just live under my desk. Hey, look at these ones here. Commercial real quick, Chad. Just because
There you go.
These
Folks,
are
I can see Bob's shoes.
These are the place. These are the place.
Oh, yes. That
Yeah,
we've been seeing
you like
everybody
that?
post about on
you've been
Facebook,
seeing
the
them.
place sneakers.
Anyway. All right. So
Yeah.
I'm done.
How did you get your pair? Never mind. All right. So, folks, what we want you to understand is there are needs in life. Whether you're looking back at Maslow's hierarchy of physiological to safety to love belonging to esteem to self-actualization, whether you're going to take Tony Robbins' list, the 6 we just walked through, you need these things. The question isn't, do you need them? The question is, are you getting the positive impact from the need, or are you leaning towards the negative impact on these needs? Because they're all in each and every one of you. We know just by listening to the Win, Make, Give that we're able to contribute. So there you go. You're helping us fill a need. We hope we're helping you fill a need in growth at the exact same time. And we hope that you're going to continue to take every possible opportunity to find the positive sides of the human needs that we all experience. Until our next episode, as always, need to do good.